You've been lied to about your mornings. They told you it's just about waking up early, drinking lemon water, making your bed. But let me tell you the truth. Mornings are not routines. They are battlegrounds. And if you win the first hour, you win the day. And if you win enough days, you reshape your entire destiny. By the end of this message, your mornings will never look the same again. The first thought you think is not just a thought. It's a seed. And your mind, the most fertile soil you will ever know, does not care what you plant. It will grow what you feed it. Whether it's fear or faith, doubt or drive, weakness or willpower, your mind will multiply it. And the tragedy? Most people go through life as careless farmers, throwing seeds of worry, laziness, and limitation into their soil before they even brush their teeth. They wonder why their lives are filled with weeds of stress, debt, regret. But it all begins in the morning, with that one silent, powerful moment between sleep and wakefulness. Psychologists call it the hypnopompic state, that thin veil of consciousness when the subconscious mind is wide open. Whatever you think in that moment is not just heard, it is engraved. That's when the programming begins. And most people, they're planting seeds of exhaustion. I'm still tired. Seeds of resistance. I don't want to go. Seeds of despair. Nothing ever changes. And just like that, before they've even stood up, their day is already lost. But listen closely, because this is where your transformation begins. Imagine waking up and choosing a different seed. Not by chance, but by choice. Instead of I'm tired, you say, I'm rising with purpose. Instead of I can't do this, you say, I was born to overcome. Instead of letting the old thoughts take root again, you become the conscious cultivator of a new reality. And when you do that, something astonishing happens. You don't just change your mornings. You change your identity. There's a story of a young man who grew up in poverty, fatherless, surrounded by violence. Every morning the first thought in his head was survival. How do I make it through today? But one day he heard a speaker say, if you want to change your life, change your first thought. So he tried it. He stood in his cracked mirror and said, I'm not what I came from. I'm what I decide to become. He said it every morning. At first it felt like a lie, but repetition rewrote his reality. That young man's name is Les Brown. And the seed he planted changed the soil of his entire destiny. What you think first thing in the morning is not random. It is a declaration. It is a decision. It is the beginning of everything. So I ask you now, what seed will you plant tomorrow? Because you can water your fears, or you can water your future. You can keep replaying the patterns, or you can start designing the life you were meant to lead. And if you do it with intention, with faith, with repetition, your life will not just grow, it will blossom. Plant greatness, or plant regret. The choice is always yours, and it starts the very second you open your eyes. Discipline might wake you up, but only emotion keeps you awake. If you want to change your life, you must understand this truth. Your destiny does not answer to clocks or calendars. It answers to emotion. The kind that pulls you out of bed before the alarm. The kind that makes your heart race before your feet touch the floor. Without emotion, even the greatest vision dies quietly in the early hours of the day. But with emotion, deep, burning, soul-shaking emotion, you become unstoppable. The world teaches you to chase goals with logic. But logic does not move mountains. Emotion does. It was not logic that pushed Edison to fail 10,000 times before creating the light bulb. It was obsession. It was emotional fire. A man doesn't chase a dream for years through darkness unless something inside him is burning. And that burn, that is what must ignite the moment you wake. Think of the last time you woke up without an alarm. Not from noise, but from excitement. Maybe it was the morning of a trip, a performance, a first day, a big opportunity. You didn't need to force yourself up. You couldn't stay down. That was not motivation. That was emotional connection. That was alignment, with a purpose bigger than comfort. Now imagine waking up like that every day. Not because of external events, but because you have built a life that speaks to your soul. That's not fantasy. That's power. That's design. And it begins with emotion. There's a man named Inky Johnson, promising football star. One hit on the field and his dream was gone. Paralyzed arm, career over. But listen to him today, and you'll hear more passion than most people with full ability. Why? Because emotion didn't die with the dream. It evolved. He connected his pain to a purpose. And now, he wakes up with a fire that even tragedy couldn't extinguish. That's what I mean when I say emotion is the alarm clock of destiny. The problem is most people silence that alarm. They hit snooze not just on their phone, but on their life. They ignore the ache that says, there's more for you. They dull the feeling that says, get up and become who you were born to be. But if you're still listening, if something inside you stirs when you hear this, then your emotional alarm is still ringing. You don't need more time. You don't need more plans. You need more fire. A reason that makes you rise like a warrior, not roll over like a victim. Emotion gives birth to movement, and movement unlocks everything else. So the question is not what time did you wake up. The question is what emotion woke you up. Because if it wasn't vision, if it wasn't belief, if it wasn't hunger, then it's time to set a new alarm. And this time, don't silence it. Every day the world will try to steal your attention before you even leave your bed. It comes quietly. A vibration on your phone, a notification on your screen, a headline soaked in fear. And before you've even stood up, your mind is hijacked, controlled, pulled into a storm that isn't yours. That's not a morning. That's surrender. That's chaos in disguise. And unless you take control of that first hour, your day is no longer yours. It belongs to distraction, to anxiety, to the outside world. That is why I say, you must command the morning before it commands you. The moment you open your eyes, you are either on offense or defense. There is no neutral. If you don't lead your mind, it will be led for you. And the sad truth, most people begin their day reacting to other people's messages, other people's priorities, other people's problems. They live in a loop of reactivity and wonder why they never feel in control. It's not a mystery, it's momentum. What you allow in your first moments sets the tone for everything that follows. Think of the mind like a theater. If you don't choose the script, someone else will. And what they'll cast you as is a background character in your own story. There's a reason why the most successful people in history protected their mornings like sacred ground. Benjamin Franklin asked himself each morning, what good shall I do this day? Not what's on the news, not who texted me, but what purpose will I fulfill? That's not a routine. That's a revolution. That's a man in command of his morning. Psychologically, your brain is in a highly suggestible state right after waking. Alpha wave dominant. That means you are more programmable than at any other time of day. If you feed it chaos, you invite confusion. But if you feed it intention, you program certainty, clarity, and power. That's not philosophy. That's neuroscience. That's weaponizing your biology for greatness. There's a young woman I once met, entrepreneur, single mother, survivor. She used to wake up overwhelmed, reaching for her phone before her feet even hit the ground. Every day felt like drowning, until she did one thing. She took back the first 30 minutes. No screens, no noise, just breath, clarity, and direction. Within 90 days, her business doubled, her anxiety disappeared, and her sense of self returned. She didn't change the world. She changed her morning. And the morning changed everything. So now I ask you, who owns your first hour? Who leads your mind? Are you directing the movie of your life, or watching it from the back row? Commanding the morning is not about waking up earlier. It's about waking up with power, with purpose, with non-negotiable focus, because the world will try to steal your attention. But if you claim the first hour, you claim your mind. And if you claim your mind, there is nothing, absolutely nothing you cannot do. Take the throne, own the hour, or the hour will own you. Every morning, before the world sees you, you see you, and there is no hiding from that reflection. No filter, no audience, just the raw, unedited truth. Staring back. The mirror doesn't care who you pretend to be. It doesn't buy your excuses. It doesn't believe your lies. It shows you everything. The weariness in your eyes, the fire in your soul, the gap between who you are and who you're meant to be. That's why I say, the morning mirror never lies. What you do in that moment, how you respond to that reflection, is what separates the drifter from the doer, the talker from the builder. Most people glance in the mirror and look away. They're not ready to confront what they see. They're not ready to take ownership. But if you want to change your life, you must be willing to face yourself fully, every wrinkle of self-doubt, every line of procrastination, every trace of untapped potential, because you cannot change what you refuse to confront. Psychologically, what you say to yourself in the mirror is one of the most powerful forms of internal programming. Studies have shown that self-affirmation, spoken while making eye contact with your own reflection, creates a deeper neurological imprint. You're not just saying words, you're building identity, repeating the truth until your mind and body believe it, until that belief becomes behavior. There's a story I carry with me. A man grew up poor, father gone, mother working 3 jobs. Every day, he'd wake up before school and stand in front of the bathroom mirror in their tiny apartment. He would look himself in the eyes, 10 years old, and say, "I am not what I came from. I am what I decide to become." He didn't understand psychology, but he understood pain. He understood the power of speaking life into himself when no one else would. That boy became one of the most powerful voices in the world. His name is Les Brown. The mirror gave him no applause. It gave him no comfort. It gave him clarity. And that's what you need. Clarity. The mirror is not your enemy. It is your mentor. It shows you where you are, so you can remember where you're going. So tomorrow morning, don't just brush past it. Stand there. Look. Speak. Not with shame, but with power. Tell the mirror the truth of your future. Say it until the look in your eyes changes. Say it until doubt disappears. Say it until the person in the mirror becomes the person you know you were meant to be. Because here is the truth. If you don't speak to your reflection, the world will, and the world does not care about your potential. It will define you if you let it. But not today, not anymore. Look in the mirror, find the fire, and remind yourself, greatness begins right here. Your mind is not a fortress, it's a sponge. It absorbs what surrounds it, whether you're aware of it or not. Every sound, every color, every object in your space is sending a message to your subconscious. That means your environment is not just where you live. It's what you become. It's not decoration, it's programming. People often wonder why they can't stay focused, why they can't stay motivated, why every goal fades into distraction. But the answer is rarely willpower. It's architecture. It's atmosphere. You cannot plant seeds of greatness in soil soaked with chaos. You cannot build empires in spaces that whisper comfort and clutter. If your environment doesn't scream purpose, it's stealing your potential silently. Every single day. There's a reason some of history's greatest minds were obsessive about their surroundings. Nikola Tesla worked in isolation, with perfect symmetry. Beethoven walked the same route each morning, placing stones in his pocket to activate his rhythm. Steve Jobs was known for his minimalist spaces, not because he loved white walls, but because he understood this truth. Clarity in your environment creates clarity in your mind. Psychologists call it environmental cueing. It means your brain is constantly scanning the physical world for patterns, and those patterns shape your behavior. A cluttered desk signals confusion. A messy room breeds delay. But a clean space, a bright window, a wall with your vision printed on it, those aren't just details. They're commands to your subconscious. Focus, rise, lead. I met a man once, a struggling artist, buried in bills, drowning in self-doubt. Every day he worked from his kitchen table, papers everywhere, dirty dishes, no structure, and every day felt like starting over. Until one morning, he changed everything, cleared the table, hung his goals on the wall, removed every item that didn't point toward his vision. It felt small, but within 6 months, he'd landed the biggest project of his life. He didn't change cities, he didn't change industry, he changed his environment, and it changed him. And yet, Most people walk through their days unaware of the silent sabotage happening all around them. The television that screams bad news, the phone that buzzes every 5 minutes, the room that hasn't been cleaned in weeks. These things seem harmless, but they are signals. They tell your mind how to think, how to feel, what to expect. And if you don't take control of those signals, they'll shape a life of stagnation while you wonder where your power went. So I ask you, what is your environment saying about your destiny? Does it challenge you to grow, or lull you back to sleep? Does it pull your greatness forward, or press it down with every dusty shelf and distracting screen? Don't just organize your life. Engineer it. Strip away everything that whispers weakness. Surround yourself with reminders of your power, because when your environment rises, you rise with it, and that shift, that decision can change your entire trajectory. You are being programmed. Now the only question is by who? Repetition is not a weakness. It is not a fallback. It is the foundation of all greatness. You do not become who you are. Once you become who you are repeated, every thought you allow, every word you speak, every action you take, especially the ones done over and over again, are laying bricks in the house of your identity. You may not see it at first, but each repetition is programming your destiny. That's why I say, repetition is the architect of identity. You don't wake up confident. You build confidence, one repetition at a time. You don't become disciplined overnight. You train discipline through routine. And you do not become wealthy, powerful, or respected by doing something once you do it 1,000 times. You say it, you declare it, you act on it, until it is no longer a decision. It is who you are. Psychologically, your subconscious mind does not understand truth or lies. It only understands consistency. It believes what it hears the most, which means if you keep repeating, "I'm not good enough," your mind will accept it as fact. But if you interrupt that pattern and start repeating, "I was born for greatness. I am the master of my fate. I do not quit," then your subconscious will adapt to that rhythm, and soon your behavior will match the belief. Muhammad Ali was not born the great. He spoke it into existence, over and over again. He told the world before the world believed it. Why? Because he had to convince himself first. He wasn't using repetition to sound impressive. He was using it to build an identity so strong it crushed fear before fear could speak. There's a young woman I know. She was terrified of public speaking, paralyzed with anxiety. Her voice would shake, hands tremble, but every morning she stood in front of the mirror and repeated, "My voice matters. My words carry weight. I am powerful." She said it 100 times a day, even when she didn't believe it. And after 90 days, something shifted. Her voice no longer shook. Her presence filled the room. Today, she speaks on global stages. Her confidence didn't come from a seminar. It came from repetition. Most people give up too soon. They say the affirmation once, try the habit for a week, and quit when they don't see results. But repetition doesn't serve the impatient. It rewards the relentless. It doesn't ask how you feel. It asks if you'll keep showing up. So what are you repeating? What are you rehearsing every day? Because whether you mean to or not, you're building something. Are you building courage or fear, power or hesitation? Repetition writes the script of your life. And one day when you look back at who you became, you'll realize it wasn't one moment that made you. It was what you repeated when no one was watching. Choose your repetitions. Choose your identity. And choose them with intentional fire. Gratitude is not weakness. It is not passive. It is not soft. Gratitude is power in its highest form, the invisible force that accelerates everything you want in life. It is the signal to the universe that you are ready for more, not because you are lacking, but because you recognize the value of what you already have. That's why I say gratitude is the accelerator of abundance. The average person believes they will be grateful once they succeed, once the money comes, once the status is achieved. But that's backwards thinking. It is gratitude that brings success, not the other way around. The mind is a magnet, and gratitude aligns that magnet to attract more of what you appreciate. Not through magic, but through focus. Psychologically, Gratitude activates the brain's reward pathways, releasing dopamine and serotonin, the same chemicals that increase motivation, improve decision-making, and reduce fear. That means a grateful mind is not just a peaceful mind. It is a more powerful, productive, and creative mind. Gratitude doesn't dull the edge. It sharpens it. There's a reason Oprah Winfrey, a billionaire with global influence, has written in a gratitude journal every morning for decades. She once said, "Be thankful for what you have. You'll end up having more. If you concentrate on what you don't have, you will never ever have enough." She didn't start doing that after becoming successful. She did it when she was struggling, when she had more questions than answers. And that shift in perspective rewired her entire trajectory. I met a man once who had just lost everything. Business failed, wife left, no job, no direction. He was broken. And every day he woke up with one thought. Why me? That was until someone told him to try something radical, to wake up each morning and write down 3 things he was grateful for, no matter how small. At first, it felt ridiculous. He was homeless, but he tried. I'm grateful for breath. I'm grateful for my hands. I'm grateful I didn't give up yesterday. And slowly, his focus shifted. His energy changed. And within a year, he had rebuilt a new life, stronger than the one he lost. Not because gratitude erased his pain, but because it unlocked his power. You see, gratitude is not the denial of difficulty. It is the decision to see through it. It's not pretending everything is perfect. It's focusing on the possibility within what already exists. That focus becomes fuel, and that fuel accelerates your next level. So if you want more, honor what you have. If you desire abundance, train your eyes to see it everywhere. Not just in the obvious wins, but in the small details. The air in your lungs, the mind in your skull, the strength in your spirit. Because the moment you start giving thanks, the world starts giving back. Not someday, not eventually, but now. Gratitude is not the end of abundance. It is the beginning of it. And it starts the moment you decide to feel it. Your body is not just a vehicle. It is a trigger. It is a switch. It is the first lever you can pull to shift your mindset, even when your thoughts are buried in doubt. That's why I say movement activates mindset. You don't wait to feel motivated before you move. You move, and the motivation follows. You don't sit and wait for clarity. You generate clarity by putting your body into motion. Because the moment you start moving, you are sending signals not just to your muscles, but to your mind. You are telling your brain, we're alive, we're ready, we're not frozen in fear, we are stepping into forward momentum. This isn't just inspiration, it's biology. Movement stimulates the production of dopamine, the neurotransmitter responsible for focus, pleasure, and drive. It increases blood flow to the brain, unlocking sharper thinking and elevated mood. It's why some of the greatest thinkers, Da Vinci, Darwin, even Steve Jobs, took long walks to solve big problems. Because motion fuels thought. Action fuels clarity. Most people don't have a motivation problem. They have a momentum problem. They stay still and wait for some magic feeling to arrive. But what they don't understand is this. Stillness often amplifies stagnation. If your body is slouched, your breath is shallow, your energy is low, you are programming your mind to believe you are powerless. But the moment you stand tall, move with intention, breathe with force, stretch past resistance, your entire emotional state begins to change. I remember a woman who had spent 6 months battling depression. Nothing helped. She couldn't focus, couldn't think clearly, until one morning, someone challenged her to just move. Not run a marathon, just stretch, walk, breathe deep, swing her arms like she meant it. That one act, small, physical, seemingly insignificant, unlocked something. She started walking every morning, then jogging, then training, and as her body strengthened, her mind followed. Her clarity returned. Her voice came back. Her light reignited, not because she forced herself to think better, but because she moved herself into a better state. The mind loves rhythm. It loves pace. It loves action. That's why rituals matter. That's why movement is a weapon. When you begin your day with intentional physical energy, you are not just exercising the body. You are commanding the mind. You are telling yourself, today I show up. Today, I drive the momentum. Today, I move first and let the world respond. So don't wait. Don't sit still hoping for mindset shifts. Use what you already have, your body, to activate what you need most. Your belief, whether it's 5 minutes of jumping jacks, 10 push-ups, or a power walk. Move like your future depends on it, because it does. Energy is not created from thought alone. Energy is created from motion, and that motion leads to emotion. That emotion fuels vision, and that vision builds reality. So the next time you feel stuck, don't think your way out. Move your way up. Before the world ever believes in you, you must believe in you. Before the world sees the results, you must see the vision. That is the law of achievement. That is the code of greatness. You have to meet your future long before anyone else sees it. In the silence, in the dark, when there's no applause, no validation, no proof, just belief, just vision, just you and who you're becoming. This is not imagination, it is preparation. The most powerful minds don't wait for reality to catch up. They see it in advance. They step into the identity of the person they are becoming, and they live from that identity now, not someday, now. Psychologically, your brain is a goal-seeking machine, but it cannot hit a target it cannot see. When you visualize your future daily, when you speak as though it's already real, your subconscious mind begins to align your behaviors, your habits, your attitude to match that image. That's not fantasy. That's neuroscience. It's how Olympic athletes train before they ever set foot on the track. It's how world-class performers walk into rooms they've never been in and own them, like they've been there for years. They've already been there in their mind. There's a young man I once mentored, quiet, overlooked, living paycheck to paycheck. But every morning, he'd wake up and write letters to his future self. Today, I spoke on a global stage. Today, I signed a book deal. Today, I stood in full command of my purpose. At first, it sounded absurd, delusional even, but day after day he kept meeting the future before it existed. He read those letters out loud. He walked with that posture. He dressed for the part. He trained for the part. And not long after, the world began to respond. The doors opened. The opportunity arrived. Not because the world changed, but because he did. And that's the secret. The world doesn't give you permission to become. It reacts to who you already are on the inside. But most people wait. They wait for evidence. They wait for applause. They wait for signs. And in the waiting, they miss their window. Because the future does not belong to the hesitant. It belongs to the prepared. So I ask you now, have you met your future self? Do you know what they look like? How they speak? How they walk into a room? Have you shaken hands with the version of you that has already overcome every obstacle you're facing now? If not, then today is the day. Step into that identity. Stand with that strength. Because the world will not believe it until you do. But when you believe it fully, when you live from it boldly, the world will have no choice but to follow. Meet your future. Move like it's already real. And watch as reality catches up to your vision. That is how destinies are built. Consistency is not discipline alone. It is self-respect in action. It is the silent message you send to your subconscious every time you follow through. It says, I am worthy of the life I want. I can be trusted to show up for myself. That's why I tell you, consistency is the highest form of self-respect. Most people think they need more motivation, more inspiration, but what they really need is alignment, a commitment that doesn't depend on how they feel, because feelings fluctuate. But identity, true identity, is carved by what you do over and over again, especially when no one is watching. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, your confidence grows. And every time you break it, even silently, a little piece of your self-worth crumbles. You may not feel it right away, but over time, it becomes a pattern, and patterns become identity. Think of the greatest achievers in history, whether it's Thomas Edison, testing over 10,000 versions of the light bulb, or Serena Williams repeating thousands of shots long after the cameras turn on. What made them legends was not a single burst of brilliance. It was relentless consistency, the willingness to show up, day after day, even when it was hard, even when it was boring, even when no one clapped. Psychologically, consistency is what forms neural pathways. It's how habits are installed. It's how beliefs are reinforced. It's not about what you do once. It's what you rehearse so many times. Your brain accepts it as truth. And once your brain accepts it, your body follows, your habits follow, your results follow. I once met a man who was 60 pounds overweight, low on energy, full of excuses. Every diet failed. Every plan fell apart. Until one day, he changed one thing. He committed to walking for 10 minutes every morning. No matter what, rain or shine, happy or tired. He did it for 30 days straight, then 6, then 90, and by the time the year ended, he had transformed physically, mentally, spiritually, not because of a secret formula, but because he finally treated himself like someone worth showing up for. That's what consistency does. It teaches you that you matter. But here's the truth most people won't say. Inconsistency is a form of self-betrayal. Every skipped promise whispers, "You're not worth the effort." And if you repeat that enough, you start to believe it. That's why starting over is so hard. Because you're not just fighting laziness. You're fighting the belief that you'll fail again. But you're not that person anymore. Not if you decide right now to become consistent. Not for others. For you. Because you are worth showing up for. And when you prove that to yourself daily, your confidence becomes unshakable. So start small. Be steady. Be stubborn with your habits. Because consistency doesn't just change your results. It changes your reflection. It tells the mirror, "This is who I am." And once you own that identity, there is no dream too far, and no destiny too great.